world military leaders and scholars have again gathered in Beijing for security talks and defense contacts. At the opening ceremony of ninth Beijing Xiangshan Forum, Chinese Defense Minister Wei Fenghe read out the congratulatory letter from Chinese President Xi Jinping and made a keynote speech on China's stance and hope in maintaining international order and promoting peace in the Asia-Pacific region.
All countries, big or small, strong or weak, rich or poor, are equal members of the international community. They all have the equal right to embark on development path of their own choice.
4 plenary sessions and 8 concurrent sessions are being held one by one on arms control, relations between major powers, the interests of small and medium-sized countries, and international security, as well as maritime security.
Interference in the internal affairs of others, inciting color revolutions, and attempts to overthrow lawful governments of other countries are the true causes of wars and turbulences in some regions.
The guests have high expectations and bring their voices and hopes on addressing conflicts.
The right way is cooperation, is multilateral cooperation, is the right way is to stop wars.
These include hopes for better China-U.S. ties.
Hopefully we'll be able to share some views here that'll be useful. Maybe we can come away from the Xiangshan Forum with some new ideas about how the two countries can work together going forward.
This year's forum is the ninth since its inception in 2006 and sets its sights more on bridging the gaps among countries and seeking common goals in a shared future for all. As one of the world's most observed defense and security discussion platforms, Beijing Xiangshan Forum has received more attention and attracted different voices from around the world for the common goal of making this world better.
4 years since Chinese President Xi Jinping first proposed the idea of building a community with a shared future in cyberspace.
网络空间的前途命运应由世界各国共同掌握。
The World Internet Conference has developed a set of forums discussing just how to achieve that, starting by giving more voices to developing countries.
Let me give some example of how vulnerable the country like Nepal is to cyber attack.
Topics of the sub-forums range from international cooperation in cybersecurity to collaboration under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative and norms in cyberspace.
The current global internet governance regime is unreasonable because developed countries as the forerunners have occupied a lot of resources. The rules they've made give them more say and that ignores the interests of developing countries.
The conference organizing committee this time has also released a concept paper which outlines what China sees as the principles and ways to build a community with a shared future in cyberspace. The path to realization, it says, includes accelerating the construction of a global internet infrastructure, promoting digital economy, maintaining cybersecurity, and building a multilateral global intergovernance system. That last bit, though, is where things get complicated.
The global order is changing. The post-Second World War balance of power is shifting, and we must adapt the world order too, building a new global architecture for cooperation.
The issues will be, how much do we share? How much is shared? I've always hoped that we would sort of share almost everything. And whether that is a vision that can come true or not, we'll have to see.
The issues, for sure, will play out in the next 50 years of the Internet's development.
This is Shanghai, one of the most dynamic and international megacities in China. After decades of rapid expansion, it is home to thousands of global companies and institutions. Since 1989, global CEOs gather in Shanghai each year to offer their expertise to the Shanghai mayor.
Shanghai are one around how do you as a city bring the right talent with the right incentives, how do you manage the cost. The city of Shanghai has a high cost base.
To make Shanghai a zero carbon city, and we think that it would be indeed a great achievement for the city to build such a roadmap.
As a first-comer, Johnson Controls Chairman George Oliver felt excited about offering his suggestions on developing Shanghai into a smarter city.
but now utilizing data, using new platforms and data to really enhance the experience, whether it be how you live, work, learn, play. I think it's an opportunity to take just an incredible city and be able to reinvent itself utilizing technology and data.
Whereas the early councils were dominated by business leaders from manufacturing industries, panels have been expanded to span finance, pharmaceuticals, technology, and other sectors.
To address some very specific issues that are not so much great policies and so on, but how to improve processes to make life easier for business.
In the beginning, the council had only 12 members from 7 countries. Today, it has grown into a true international think tank.
The 32nd EBLAC meeting is scheduled to be held on October 25th next year, and the theme will be Shanghai to its greater opening up and high-quality development.
From the business environment to innovative technology and connectivity, these global heads have offered various suggestions on how to improve the city as a whole. Many say Shanghai's experience of pulling together global excellence and wisdom can be references for other cities to follow.
35 years after launching in Los Angeles, U.S. retail giant Forever 21 declared bankruptcy in September, announcing it will close around 350 stores in 40 countries, shutting down most of its operations in Asia and Europe. The brand, which is a leader of so-called fast fashion, has been plagued by heavy debt after an aggressive push into foreign markets.
Forever 21 went from success to following the Kmart proverbial McKinsey strategy of planting a flag in every major market in the established world, and as a result got spread out too thin.
Forever 21, like many retailers, have also been struggling with rising rents. Barney's New York recently filed for Chapter 11 in part because rent at its flagship store in New York almost doubled in January from $16 million to $30 million. At the same time, some brands have struggled to stay relevant in the digital age. Children's retailer Gymboree declared bankruptcy in January in part because of competition from e-commerce. 2019 has been a brutal year for U.S. retailers. 8,200 stores across the United States have shut their doors so far this year, and many more bankruptcies are expected in what has been dubbed a retail apocalypse. J. Crew has been struggling to stay relevant among consumers, and the American owner of Ann Taylor, Loft, Lane Bryant, and other retail brands is heavily in debt. Debt expert Reshmi Basu says many of the brands declaring bankruptcy don't plan on going away entirely. The process helps them cut costs and restructure.
The reason why a number of retailers were filed for bankruptcy is because they want to reject the leases in an in-court process and also get a massive haircut on their debt.
Mark Grise, an adjunct professor at the Fashion Institute of Technology, says Forever 21 is making the right move.
There's a lot of fat within the organization that needs to be trimmed. And if they trim that fat, if they get back down to their core principles of giving products that the consumers want at good prices, with a very solid digital strategy and omnichannel strategy, I think the brand could still reinvent themselves and do quite well.
It's the new age of restaurants in France, cooked up and managed by a youthful generation. 2 restaurant associations in the country say the trend has accelerated in recent years. Paul Auger is one of the many under 35-year-olds starting out in the food industry.
It's to have more fun, have more contact with people and see new things every day. And working for oneself is very important.
There's been a 15% increase in the number of people starting their own business in the past 2 years. 1/5 are under the age of 30. Paul works with his friends Josh and Jeremy. He believes people in his age group are increasingly turning their backs on office jobs.
The 3 business partners behind this restaurant aren't the only young people who want to start a new eatery. In fact, demand is so high that the prestigious HEC Business School in Paris has launched a new master's degree in French cooking and management.
Students will be taught what they need to do to run a successful outlet, as well as how to prepare dishes.
We have more and more students willing to eventually be chef, open restaurants, and generally professional training as chef is very far from a business school. And we thought it would be great to make sure that they have access to both of it.
2 former HEC students set up Big Mama Group, which has 10 restaurants in France and England. They currently hire 1,000 people and have plans to expand further. But running a competitive restaurant isn't easy.
I can hear lots of young people saying, yeah, I want to try to launch a restaurant, so they are doing very small stuff. But at the end they fail because they are saying, well, yeah, but I didn't want to do that, but I tried something that I didn't want to do. If you want to try something, do it. As big as it is, just be ambitious and do it.
Advice he hopes will encourage more young people to embrace the heat and stay in the kitchen.